Welcome to The Dying Breed. I'm Caleb, and today we're going to build a Barshoe. In the last video, we were working on my wife's horse who had an abscess, and I put a Barshoe on that foot. And I said in that video that I was going to do a video on how I built the Barshoe. So we are going to take an in-depth look at how I build a Barshoe. First, I mark just off of center of the shoe. We do this because it takes more steel to cover the lateral side of a horse's foot than it does the medial. And then I mark each side of the bar stock at about 2 inches. And this will be my marks for where the corners of my bar are going to end up. And then I mark my lateral side, so I know which side has a little bit more steel on it. The next step is bumping. Bumping is the process in which we add material to the toe. We're basically compressing the steel into the toe. When you're bumping a shoe, it's really important that we keep the steel as straight as possible. As soon as that steel bends, it's no longer compressing. So we have to keep the steel straight when we're bumping in order for that steel to compact. We're trying to get about a 1/2 inch of material bumped into this toe. We know when we fuller it that we'll get that back. The shoe will grow a 1/2 inch when you fuller it. We're gonna seat the shoe out. We know that when we do the toe bend, the inside will get thicker and the outside of the toe will get thinner because of how we bend the metal. That's one of the purposes of bumping, is to eliminate that. And by seating it out, we maintain stock width. When we're doing the toe bend, we are thinking of the foot that this shoe is going to go on. Everything about this shoe is custom. We don't just bend the toe, we actually put a shape in the toe. Now we're going to start making the bar. So when we're making a Barshoe, the first step is making what we call a hockey stick. We bend the bar stock to just before a 90, and then we pack it back into itself so we can have a nice thick bar at the back of the shoe. When I made those 2 dots earlier on both sides of the bar stock, that is where the corner of my hockey stick needs to be. The hardest part to making a Barshoe is getting both sides exactly the same. Your hockey sticks need to be very precise. They need to be exactly the same length, and their corners need to be in exactly the same spot. That's so you can have a nice symmetrical bar when you get ready to weld. I'm measuring everything as I go along, making sure that I'm hitting the measurements that I planned for this. I'm trying to make that back of the hockey stick as straight as I can. Now we're gonna make the other hockey stick. We've already bent it over. And you can see how I'm working it on the horn. I'm moving it back and forth and trying to create that nice little whoop-de-doo. So when we weld them together, we have that nice little frog plate. You can see the metal getting thicker as I work it. And then I'll seat it out and make it wider. And then as I'm forging this, I'm trying to make that bar in the back straight. You can see as I hit it with my hammer how it's getting straighter and it doesn't have that little hump in it. I'm gonna do a little bit more work on this particular side of the bar. Gonna pack it in a little bit more. When you're packing material in, you can hear when it's locked in and you're actually pushing material together. The anvil sounds different than when you're shaping it. When you're shaping steel, it kind of has a tinier sound, a ting to it. When you're forging, it has a very solid thunk to it. Measuring my hockey stick, make sure it's the same length as my other one. And then I'm gonna scarf it. Scarfing helps us weld it together, creates a spot for us to weld. My friend Aaron Bren over at Misa Media was actually the one that filmed this for me, and he made me look so much cooler online. He did an amazing job with this footage. I was really excited to edit this video. We're gonna add flux to the bar. This is gonna help weld the bar. You'll notice the heat difference. You'll notice how white it is. Flux is not like a glue. What flux does is it keeps oxygen out so we can weld the bar. Now, I've edited out. We do that about 3 times with the flux. We flux that shoe 3 different times. So I've already marked my fullering in the toe, and now I'm hemming. Hemming is so when I fuller the shoe, it doesn't just get wider. We want to maintain stock width. So I'm going to push material up to where I'm going to fuller just a little bit. And then when I fuller and drive that fuller in, it'll flatten out and it'll be nice and flat across. So as you push the fuller down into the steel, it pushes the steel away from the fuller, which is the tool I'm using right now. This is my favorite fuller, Brian Strelo. You can see his name right there. He's helped me a lot in both how I shoe and giving me some really good advice. And he actually makes his own tools, and this is one of his fullers, and it is my favorite. It runs like a racehorse. It's fast, it sinks fast. You actually have to be kind of careful that you don't drive them through the stock, because it really messes up your fuller when you drive it into the anvil. And I've done that several times. You can kind of see just the little seam right there on where the weld is. You can see the little seam on the weld. I didn't quite get it welded right there. It's welded solid, it's just not welded right at that little, you can still see the seam. Ideally, you wouldn't be able to see any seam at all. A little hotter, and you can see that fuller just moving that material out of the way. And you can see the stock getting a little wider. That's why we hemmed it. We make it a little narrower, and then we push the edges up towards the ground surface, which is what we're working on here. So when we fuller it, it's flat. Every step to this shoe takes a lot of precision and a lot of time to do this. And there are people that are way better at this than I am. I'm still learning a lot. I need to be able to make this shoe in 35 minutes. I think this shoe took me about 45 minutes. And now we're going to put some nail holes in this side of the shoe. We're going to use a drift punch first. Every tool that I've used in this video is tuned for a specific nail. In this case, they're tuned for a Combo 5 Slim. And by that, the bottom of this tool, the part of the tool that I'm driving into the shoe, is tuned for the nail shank, the width and length of it as it comes out. So it's a triangle. The pritchel here is tuned the same way. All these tools have to be synchronized to that nail so that when we go to the horse, this fits all the way across the board. That's one of my best moves, is dropping a shoe on the ground. Didn't quite get that hole cleaned out enough. Okay. So now we have holes in the shoe. Those holes need to be center of stock. Now we're going to back punch the holes as well. So this helps kind of open them up after I hit them with the hammer so that they, again, fit the shank of the nail. So the nail will come through without hanging up on the steel. Now we're going to do the other side. Again, same process. We're going to hem the shoe, move that material so when we drive our fuller into it, it doesn't just blow the stock out wider. You can see that I've kind of got it started. I've already got it kind of started, the fullering started. Now, you'll notice I started the heel on this one because my tool runs in one direction. They're little bitty movements. You're trying to just walk that tool right across the shoe. And you're trying to drive the fuller to a certain depth so that the nail sits right in the fullering. What I did there is called a hard stop. It creates a corner. And you want a nice crisp corner. It's just aesthetically pleasing. Drive the drift punch in. And again, we're going to drive it until we kind of hear that solid thunk sound. That's when our tool is just hitting the anvil. We don't want to drive it into the anvil. We just want to drive it right up to where it touches the anvil. Otherwise, the tool starts to mushroom out. We're trying to get our nail spacing even. So it's the two rearmost nails are straight across from each other. The two toenails are straight across from each other, and the two middle nails are straight across from each other. There, you can see what I was talking about earlier. You can see the little round indentations of where the drift punch has almost come up to the anvil. The other thing that we're doing is all of these nail holes are pitched. They are pitched at the angle of the hoof wall. Making shoes teaches you so much about horses' feet because it requires you to think about the horse's foot as you make the shoe. Because nails need to be center of stock, so they go into the white line. Nails need to be pitched at the same angle as the hoof wall so that they can go up into the hoof wall safely and get up there high enough to hold the shoe on. Gonna do a little bit more shaping on this shoe, just a little last minute shaping. It is way easier to shape a bar shoe before you weld it. You wanna shape this shoe before you weld the back of it together, because at this point, if I do something on this side, it's going to affect the other side because everything's connected. When it's not welded, you can shape one side without a problem. And it won't affect the other side because they're not connected. I'm seating the shoe out. In the last video I talked about deep seating. You want to seat that shoe out to make sure we don't have any sole pressure. A little bit more shape. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other with a bar shoe. If I open up one side of the shoe, I have to open up the other side of the shoe. to keep it from getting really racked and wonky. I'm gonna do a little filing just to make it look a little prettier. Cool it off. Right here, I'm gonna check all the nails. Make sure all the nails drop. You can kind of see the pitch, how they're angled in. Checking to make sure, see the pitch of the nail? It's pitched at the angle of the hoof wall. And that's how you make a Barshoe. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.